Pokémon is special to me. I have watched the anime and I've played a Pokémon game in every generation. Even when I felt like the series had let me down with some of the weaker releases, I stuck with it. I've been frustrated in the lack of innovation, but that didn't stop me getting the games. Pokémon has pretty much followed the same model since it first began in the 90s. In 2022, Nintendo, Game Freak and the Pokémon Company gave me something I have always wanted. They finally changed up the formula and gave us Pokémon Legends Arceus. For the first few months of this game being released, I could not stop playing this game. I was completely hooked by the gameplay loop and would spend hours catching Pokémon trying to complete the Pokédex. And the game has been out for a year now, and it seems to have quietly been shoved to the side ever since the announcement of Scarlet and Violet. As plenty of people in the comments of one of my older videos love this game, let's get that conversation flowing again. So let's talk about what makes Pokémon Legends Arceus a great game. Let's start with a brief summary of the story. Legends Arceus begins with your player being transported back in time by the almighty deity Arceus. You are now in the Hisui region, which is known today as the Sinnoh region. You meet Professor Lavington, who you help to catch the 3 starter Pokemon. He takes you to Jubilife village, which has been built up over the past 2 years. People and Pokemon do not coexist in this era, and the locals don't take too kindly to you being here, as you are an outsider who fell from the rift. They don't trust you, and you can't be a freeloader. You need to earn your keep. Because you were able to catch the 3 Pokemon, you get an offer to join the Galaxy Survey Corps to help complete the first ever Pokédex. It's a decent enough story which does leave a lot of open questions in my opinion, but there were a lot of things to like about it. My favourite thing about the story is the setting. I love the idea of a time that people and Pokemon do not coexist, and Pokemon were this unknown danger just beyond the village and settlement. People were afraid and really had to scavenge for their resources to survive. When they ventured out of the village, they would be escorted by convoys. It's quite the shift from our traditional setting where everybody and Pokemon are happy and friendly. This is the first time we truly get to delve deep into the history and lore of Pokemon in a different time period, and because of this, it paved the way for a lot of the amazing gameplay designs. One of the things I've always wanted from a Pokemon game was to be more involved in the action. I want to feel as if I am part of this world. As a kid, my imagination would do a lot of the heavy lifting because, you know, these pixelated sprites don't exactly look real at its turn-based combat. As I got older, I started to lose that connection to this world, but it wasn't because I got older. It's because the Pokemon games wasn't innovating in a way that I think many of us wanted. All my favourite games are fantastic at making their world a core feature in its design. Games such as Fallout, Breath of the Wild and The Witcher 3 have live and engaging worlds. So when Legends Arceus was announced and we got to see the catching mechanics for the first time, I was so excited I couldn't contain myself. I literally went back and finished the Sword DLC because I immediately wanted to play some Pokemon. There's nothing else that I wanted more to feature in a Pokemon game, and the amazing thing is that the core design is built around it. But for this core to work, new features had to be added, as well as improvements to existing features. Like the stars of the show, the Pokemon. They can now be seen in the overworld everywhere, which is a major step up from Sword and Shield. They didn't just pop in and out of the world as you ride by. As soon as you turn up, they are already there in the overworld. They also have different behaviours and personalities. Some Pokemon are timid and would run away as soon as they saw you, and some Pokemon are passive until you disturb their peace. You will see Pokemon sleeping in the overworld. There are alpha Pokemon, which are larger in size compared to their original counterparts, and they also sport red eyes and are a higher level than the average Pokemon in that area. And because of the narrative's direction, alpha and some other species of Pokemon are hostile and dangerous and will attack you on sight. Yo, that majestic Alpha Rapidash in the Obsidian Fieldlands in the early stages of the game, I know I was not the only one who got torn apart by that beast. Because Pokemon can attack you, we get a dodge roll mechanic to avoid their moves. Who would have thought Pokemon would be a Souls-like? They didn't just scatter Pokemon around the world and call it a day either. They added events which would happen before you enter an area and while you're exploring in the form of outbreaks and space-time distortions. I love space-time distortions because it forces you to engage with Pokemon in a slightly different way. You are confined to a small area where rare Pokemon and materials will spawn with not many hiding places. You have to approach this carefully as they are immediately hostile when they see you. So, do you go in all guns blazing when the Pokemon appear and risk having a battle disadvantage, maybe 2v1, sometimes even 3v1? Or do you run around throwing sticky globs to stun them before you throw Pokeballs? I would tend to use the sticky globs and throw balls and use Rhydia to get away quickly if I was in trouble and hide in grass if it was around. Space-time distortions gave the player a real challenge, which made finding rare Pokemon and materials worth it. Mass outbreaks are great for two things: catching loads of the same type of Pokemon quickly to help with the Pokédex research and shiny hunting. Mass outbreaks are incredible for shiny hunting. If you want to see more of my shinies in the future, hit that subscribe button. Once you complete the Pokédex and you get the shiny charm, your odds of seeing a shiny during a mass outbreak is outrageous. Most of the shinies that I caught have come from mass outbreaks. My favourite shiny has to be Zoroark. Look how cute it is. I love how you can just send your Pokemon out and interact with them and they have like little naps and stuff. It feels like you really get a chance to bond with your Pokemon. For me, the catching mechanic is what makes this game tick, but I understand why this game isn't for everyone. This being an action title makes it more difficult to play, which means it's less accessible for some. Arceus wrecked me so many times in that final battle, and there are difficulty spikes throughout this journey like that battle with Volo. Some prefer the traditional gameplay, and that's cool. The crafting system is a neat addition. The player can now craft various items with the resources they gather on the go. And to gather these resources, you simply throw out one of your Pokemon out to collect it and they gain experience when you do this. This is great as it incentivizes you to gather materials, and the pace of the game does not stop while you're gathering resources. I mean, you can just throw your Pokeball and keep moving. Your Pokemon will return to you with that item. Besides Pokeballs, the other items I would craft are Sticky Globs and Smoke Bombs. Smoke Bombs are a must. When there isn't any grass nearby and you need to sneak up on a Pokemon, throw a Smoke Bomb and get up close. It's also great for escaping in tricky situations. The Sticky Globs are great for stunning hostile Pokemon so you can either try to catch them or make an escape if needed. I rarely use my Pokemon when I try to catch wild Pokemon because of these two items. I save my Pokemon for battling. And speaking of battling, I think that agile and strong style battle mechanics is a weird addition. I understand what they were going for, but I don't see it translating very well to a multiplayer match. So I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't make a return. For those of you who don't know, the agile style reduces a move's power and effects, but will increase the user's action speed, allowing the Pokemon to use subsequent moves sooner, while the strong style increases the move's power, effects and accuracy, but decreases the user's action speed, causing the Pokemon to move later in subsequent turns. You can access a turn order, so you can predict who will be able to move first depending on their speed and what style move they pick. Because this game's core is centered around catching Pokemon, I feel as the battling took a backseat. I didn't get the same enjoyment out of battling, and it's because there wasn't many trainers to just run into in the world and battle. The real-time battles and seamless transitions are great though. They are small but simple things, but they make a huge difference. Another one is being able to move while in battle. It doesn't serve any real purpose besides being able to quickly flee from battle if you run off, but it's amazing. I love that freedom. Can I just say, the soundtrack to this game is brilliant. The battle music is hype as always. I swear Pokemon never misses when it comes to its musical score. Just listen to this theme played in Jubilife Village. It gives a nice tranquil vibe for the village and I'm here for that. But the greatest sound is that musical note for a shiny appearance. That sound really gets the heart pumping, especially when the shiny isn't on screen and you have to end up frantically looking around for it. Now, I see a lot of discourse about the Switch's dated hardware. While I do feel as it does contribute to the performance and presentation for both Legends Arceus and Scarlet and Violet, it should not be an excuse, as Nintendo have been able to put out great looking open world games like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom and Xenoblade 3. To be honest, Legends Arceus has really good performance. Besides distant Pokemon losing a few frames, I didn't encounter anything that was game or immersion breaking, and the art style is beautiful. It has this nice traditional Japanese watercolour art style which fits perfectly for its setting. It has a great variety of biomes too, from volcanoes to swamps to fieldlands and snowy areas, and these are all fun to traverse around. There's something about just hopping on your ride here and riding around which is just so satisfying. The location you'll visit the most is Jubilife Village, and it is a fantastically designed area for the player to explore. It's filled with plenty of lore to learn about the history and what's happening in the world. It's also filled with content. When you walk around and speak to NPCs, you'll be given side quests. A lot of these side quests will be, I need these resources, or can I see these Pokemon? But a real great one is when they ask you to catch a certain type of Pokemon to help out with the village, because you will see that Pokemon in the village, and over time more and more Pokemon will be around helping people in the village. And as I mentioned earlier, people and Pokemon do not coexist, and to be honest, can you really blame people? You imagine looking out your window and seeing Palkia staring at you? I would shit myself. It's hilarious when you walk past the pastures and just see a legendary Pokemon hanging out. But I digress. Now, people and Pokemon did not coexist until now. You are helping bridge that gap between people and Pokemon, and that's why Legends Arceus is an incredible game and a fantastic first step for the future of Pokemon games. If you haven't already played this game, give it a try. It's well worth it. I love this game so much, I actually sorted out my Pokemon in the pastures to be in the Pokédex numerical format like the nerd that I am. Pokémon Legends Arceus sets out to provide a new and unique experience centered around the loop of catching Pokemon, and for the most part it nails it. Now I want to hear from you. What's your thoughts on Pokémon Legends Arceus? Let me know down in the comment section below. Thanks again for joining me today as we talk more Pokemon. My name is Jammer the Gamer, also known as the Ace Trainer. I will speak to you soon. Take care for now.